Welcome, friends and family, back with another episode of the Son of a Mother Show, where it is my mother and I talk about news, life, family, friends, answering questions, anything and everything, and nothing is off the table. Mom, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Should have been gone, knowing how I made you feel, and I should have been gone after all your words of steel. Oh, I must have been a dreamer.
There we are, the song of the week. Mom, explain a little bit about the song. Explain a little bit about this episode.
Okay, well, this episode is dedicated to my mom, who passed away on this day 4 years ago. And the reason I chose this song is because she loved this song. She loved Steve Perry. And I think what's cool about it is that it's not a very popular song, especially anymore. It used to be back in the day.
Yeah.
85, 86, 84, 85. So I don't know. I have to look it up. But but if I hear this on the radio, I know, like, I'm always like, oh,
Yeah.
hi. It just like, it makes her feel like her presence feel. I mean, she had a lot of songs she liked, but this one I felt like in particular, it really, she sang it all the time. And then if I hear it, then I'm like, that's the song I identify with her.
Yeah.
So
That's cool. Yeah, I was trying to think about that. That's why I messaged you last night, because I know that you picked the song last week, and I was like, I need to have a song. And then I'm like, I don't know any songs that really, really remind me of her. So I said I have the more of the memory side, but it's just not more. But I mean, to me, it's not like a song that I can relate to, because
I think I knew her longer.
a little bit, 22 years longer.
I knew her 22 years longer.
Yeah. So this is what we wanted to do. Like I said in the previous episodes, guys, it's just the purpose of this show is to leave something for our family, for our family to have something for the future, really. And that's why we're documenting all this. She is someone that's had an impact on us, a generation ahead of us. So that's awesome. We can bring her to life on this, and explain who she was. So people, my kids, especially my kids, unfortunately, they'll have no idea who she was as a person, relating with her, but they'll be able to see something like this, and then their kids, and then their kids, and it's something so cool that they'll have. And then when I'm gone, when you're gone, they'll have this.
Right.
So it's not for the money. I mean, there is none, but it's just for the fun.
All the millions that are raking in, this is more important.
Yeah.
So. And
so let's I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Say what you're saying.
Well, what I wanted to start off with was let's talk about who she was. Where she's from, where she grew up, year she was born, and then how she met your dad, and then go into that whole history.
More current. Okay, well, she was born Linda Louise Miller. Mm-hmm. And she was born in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, which is kind of up in the mountains. And I know very little about her childhood because she was the youngest of four, but she came way younger. Her closest sibling is 8 years older than her. So she was the baby of the family. Okay. Yeah. So, and they also, all three of them are still alive. Was the first one to pass away, which is kind of interesting too. Mm-hmm. But So she didn't talk about her childhood much, except for that she was very talented. She was a dancer. She was a gymnast. She, marched in parades. She appeared on the Atlantic City Pier for her gymnastics and baton skills. And, wow. She was very talented woman, and little girl, I should say, and then woman. Mm. But her and my dad met, and I don't even think you don't, but at Dorney Park, there was this dance hall. Dorney Park, there was a dance hall called Castle Gardens. This is before your time. Before Dorney Park was a paid park.
It was before your time.
No, I went to Castle Gardens. It wasn't.
I'm just saying, like when they met.
When they met. Yes. So anyway, there was this place called Castle Gardens, and I guess back in their day, there wasn't too many places like it. It was a big barn-like place. It wasn't fancy. It was all wooden, and they had a DJ and people danced. And I think it was even a roller skating rink at one time too. So anyway, so she's 16, and she goes with a bunch of her friends, and she sees my dad, who is 19. And she knew him because they both grew up in Emmaus. She had heard of him, but he was older, and he never heard of her. But she did hear of him, and he kind of ran with that kind of rough crowd. And if you want to think of the movie Grease, seriously, that was him.
Yeah.
Okay, he was the rough, tough guy with the rolled up cigarette pack rolled into their sleeves, and smoked and drank, and kind of above her innocent life of a 16-year-old girl in high school. So, but she thought he was cool. And somehow they got to dancing. My dad could dance very well, and she could dance very well.
That's
so
like
they
me.
got dancing.
That's like me.
Right. You can dance.
That's how I got Nikita.
I know. So it's kind of interesting. So anyway, I was conceived in Christmas, the week of Christmas, 1963. And she was still in high school.
I thought you were going to say that night, honestly.
No, she always said it was the week. So I don't think it was Christmas night. I think it was the week of Christmas break for school.
That's cool.
And they had it was a BYOB place. So they didn't serve alcohol. So that's why younger kids could get in.
At Dorney Park?
Yes.
Wow. So a little bit background about Dorney Park. So we're in Allentown, Pennsylvania, where, I would call home where you live now still. Dorney Park is a huge amusement park, right? They have some of the biggest rides. Yeah, some of the biggest rides on the East Coast, which is huge. And I grew up there like a lot of summers, like having season passes, and I would go there, and Dorney Park got boring to me.
Yeah,
I mean, I haven't been there in so long.
And did you know that that's where they met? Did I ever tell you that?
I did not know. I did not know that. So that's wild that place is still around. It's still around.
It's still around, and so she gets pregnant. They weren't dating. They weren't boyfriend and girlfriend. So
yeah.
That was kind of interesting. And but my grandfather told my dad that if he didn't marry her, that he was taking him to court because he was overage. So my dad was like, okay, I'll marry her.
That'll get you.
What a romantic story it is.
Yeah.
So what happens is they move in with my grandmother, my dad's mom. Nana Dutton, we called her. Yeah. Because her mom was Nana Miller. But so they move in with my dad's mom because she has the room, and I was born. They got married in June. Okay. And I was born in October. I was due at the end of September, but I was born in October. And
was it in Nana's house? Was it that house?
No, it was, where the railroad tracks are in Emmaus?
Yeah. Behind Nana's house.
Yeah. They were behind, but down by the movie theater. That's where I grew up. Down at between 6th and 5th
I remember
Street
going there before and you showing
by
us.
the movie theater.
But
So I grew up down at Jubilee Street on 6th Street, 6th and Jubilee in Emmaus. And I lived there until I was in 7th grade. And then my parents bought that house on Minor Street I think I've taken you there.
Yeah, I've seen one of them.
Yeah. So, and then that was, 7th grade until I got married. I lived there. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so that was kind of the beginning of her life, beginning of me knowing her.
Yeah. When you moved out?
No, me being born.
So when okay, let's think about this. Let's fast forward through that. And then once you move out, you get married, and, you start having me and all the other kids, and she's still with him there, right?
My dad?
Yeah.
No. My dad died in 1988.
Well,
you
I'm saying,
born in
I was
1987.
87. So, but
right.
while I was born, she was there.
When you were born, yes.
Because he was sick, right?
Yes.
So
he
was sick.
died of cancer.
Yeah. So he was sick, and she's taking care of him, and then he passes away. Okay. So
right.
88. I'm 1 year old. Then what happens? She
moves to Florida.
She moves to Florida right away.
She moves to Florida right away because her parents were living in Florida.
Right.
And even though my dad's family was in Emmaus, she decides to go down to Florida and be with her parents.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, I mean, he died of cancer, okay? And then the following year, she got cancer of the appendix.
Oh.
And so she had to take a year off from work, even though she actually didn't have a job at that time because she had just moved down there. But her recovery took a full year. And she had to have surgery. And yeah, she had a lot of things removed.
They just took her appendix out.
No. The tumor was attached to her ovaries. So she ended up having a total hysterectomy along with an appendectomy and some other things down there. Yeah. So, okay. So we, Wayne and I go from having, my dad die right into her cancer. Yeah. And, but she recovers. I mean, it takes her a year. She got really sick, but then she recovered and then she got a job at the hospital. And that's where she basically worked for Jupiter Hospital down in Florida for their different branches, some outpatient clinics, but all attached to Jupiter Hospital, basically.
And what does she specifically do in the hospital? Because I didn't know she was like an actual nurse. But
No. She's not a nurse. She was in charge of billing. She did all insurance and billing. And what's really interesting is the people that she met, like she became friends with Rush Limbaugh. Really? I don't know if you knew that.
I did not know that.
But when she was working at the outpatient, he was going through his back surgeries and he would have to go to her to pay. And she had cats. And she used to have pictures of her cats sitting on her desk. And here he's like a huge cat person. So then they started exchanging pictures of their cats. And, he had to go there a couple of times. Yeah,
that's probably when he got addicted to oxys.
Definitely. No, it is when he got addicted. It definitely is. But, it's kind of funny because she did not know who he was per se. She knew he was somebody, but Grandma was not involved in politics or, she didn't really pay attention. So when she would tell me, I know this guy's somebody because of the way everybody acts around him, and then when she told me, I'm like, Mom, that's Rush. What do you mean you don't like him? What? Yeah. And then I'd have to explain it to her. So, and then she meets her second husband, Charlie.
I remember Charlie.
Right. And they get married.
He had a boat.
He did. He had a boat. And then she decided to get some boobs because she'd lost so much weight from her cancer and everything. She worked at the outpatient surgery and she could get them really cheap. So she decided that was a good surgery for her to go under and do. And, she kind of relives her. I mean, after she recovered from all that, I'd say she went through a kind of second life because she didn't have to take care of my dad anymore. She was living in Florida. The weather was nice, and she had a great job. She loved her job. Loved her job like no one I know loves a job.
She had a nice car.
She had a nice car.
She had Firebird.
She did. And then she had a nice house. And
it was a nice house.
Yeah.
Nice neighborhood.
Nice neighborhood. She was making friends. She was going out. I never saw her so happy until the marriage with Charlie then got bad. Yeah. Then she got divorced. Then she was happy again. But we lived with her after she got divorced from Charlie. You, me, and Kara. I was pregnant with Annie.
In second grade, I believe. Third
1994. 1994 to 1995, we lived with her. I had Annie down there with her.
Yeah.
And then we moved back to Pennsylvania, and she met David. And once she met David, I mean, she moved in with him and lived with him and then married him until she died. So,
yeah, I remember living in Florida. That's when I developed my fear for hurricanes because we were
hurricanes, fear of snakes. You kind of had a little fear of snakes going.
Yeah, it was crazy. But that's when I became a Dolphins fan.
It is. And I think that, living with her at that point, probably you were 8 at the time. And I think you got to know her a lot better than you knew her before that because we'd only go to visit. So I think you got to, establish a relationship with her.
Right.
And then, I mean, at that point, she liked you a lot.
Yeah.
In comparison to like Zach, I was telling him yesterday, like he would leave his toys everywhere. He would leave his bike outside. She was a neat freak. And you were always right there along there with her. Like, oh, okay, so we're going to clean up. Yeah, awesome. Let's clean up,
To this day, I still like that.
You were born, her birthday is September 13th.
Yeah.
You were born on September 16th, 3 days after her 40th birthday. So I had Ethan when I was 30. 7. She had her grandchild when she was 40.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's crazy.
So really, I mean, you guys could be, it's real close.
It's not.
real close.
Yeah, she could be my mom. Essentially, in age.
mom.
Yeah.
She thought she was.
She for a lot of time. She really thought she was.
Didn't have any problems with that. But
Oh man, that's
I
funny.
kind of experienced that with Kara too, though. So I do get that with the daughter.
Yeah.
Like when Kara talks about Cam, I'm like, what are you doing with Cam? Let's go over that. Wait, let back go.
That's funny. Well, I know that like when us growing up, it was unfortunate because she lived in Florida, but there wasn't another grandparent that I felt closer with. And I was telling you about this as well, because even with her being something about the maternal grandmother, that even with her being in Florida pretty much our whole lives, that you can remember, most of the other kids too, as long as they can remember.
Right.
I don't know if Kara does remember living in Florida. I'm sure she does a little bit.
Yeah.
So like most of her memory is living in Pennsylvania and her living in Florida. But you'd ask Kara and she would be the first one to tell you how close she felt to her. And that she was always, you could just call her. And she didn't have a job when she moved in with David. So and we'll provide.
No, she did. She did have a job.
She did.
Yeah, she worked.
She was still there.
She worked. Yeah. Oh yeah. She worked until I'd say 2 years before she died.
Really?
She worked the whole time. Yeah, she did.
I didn't know that. I guess it was 2 years because when I came down there, anyway. So that was like our whole memory. It was her down there, but we all felt like so close. And she called. You guys talked every day. She called every day.
No. Let's not say she called every day. I talked to her at least 3 to 4 times a day. I mean, we're talking like I talked to her every single morning when I woke up.
Yeah,
okay?
I remember that.
Every morning.
Yeah.
She could, because she got up early, right? So even when she was working, I would talk to her before she'd get ready for work. And then I talked to her on her way home from work when there were cell phones. Before that, then she'd walk in the door and call me to tell me about her day at work. And, and it would always crack me up because when she stopped working, we would talk in the morning for like an hour, right? Mm-hmm. I would do my morning chores. We would talk for an hour. And by noon, she would text me and say, I just want to see what's going on, what you're doing for the day. Or I just want to see how your day is or something. And I'm like, okay, well, since 3 hours ago, I have made breakfast. And then I did some school with the kids and I drove Annie. And then, by 3, she's like, well, I just wanted to catch up on your day. And I'm like, okay, let's see. What if I did? When did we talk? It was always like she never felt like she talked to me enough. Okay. Yeah. Let's just put it this way. If I would have left her talk to me as much as she wanted to talk to me, I can't even imagine what that would have looked like.
It was, she would call so much. You guys would talk so much that, we had those old school phones and it would just display the number and you'd see the Florida area code and you're like, it's grandma.
And what was really cool this morning? I was driving back from taking Ian and of course I'm, kind of emotional today just thinking about her, and the license plate in front of me was on a truck and it said 746-7308. And right away I was like, oh my God, that's her number. Really? And then I looked it up on my phone. It was her phone number.
That's weird.
Was the license plate of the truck in front of me this morning. How crazy is that?
That is strange.
Because I know that number. That was, before the day of just, putting in mom or whatever.
You had to dial. You actually had to memorize.
And she had that number forever. So,
Yeah, it was always her number. That's crazy.
So I think that when she got sick, I didn't see it coming. I don't feel like I got a warning. But some people lose people, in an accident. That's no warning. But hers was very. We went down there in May of 2011. Kara, Zach, Annie, and me.
Yeah, that was an awesome trip.
It was, and how did we know it was going to be her last Mother's Day? Yeah. We had no idea. We didn't know she was sick. She certainly was mentally, I would say, not doing well because of drinking.
Yeah.
But, it was, that trip was just intense. It was like one weekend, but doesn't it feel like
it was crazy? Yeah.
It was awesome. A crazy weekend, with her. And she came to visit me. We had just bought Creekview. So she came to visit me in July and she kept complaining about her back. She kept saying her back hurt. And And then in August, she got put in the hospital for pancreatitis. And at that point, they had told me that she was cancer free. It was just pancreatitis. But they wanted her to go see a pancreas doctor. And 3 weeks after that, she had full blown stage 4 pancreatic cancer.
They said stage 4 right away.
Right away. It was, well, what they had done was it had gone to her lungs. And so they wanted to take out her one lung. And Wayne and I had to make that decision about what to do. And we decided that, fine, we would let them take the lung because it was the only way to find out if the cancers were related, because they didn't know if they. Here's the thing. If your cancer is in 2 spots, it's stage 4. Okay. But if they would have been separate and like maybe stage 1 of each, then, then you're looking at a recovery. Yeah, there's a recovery time, you know. But once they did the lung and they found out that the cancers were connected, once they took her lung, it was like, okay.
I didn't know they took her lung out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I think it was half a lung. I can't even remember. We'd have to ask Wayne.
Yeah.
I think it was half a lung.
Yeah.
It was a hard decision to make.
Yeah,
we
that is always tough.
Decision.
You never know how you're going to react in those situations.
You think you know what you can do and what you're capable of, but until you're put in that situation.
Yeah.
And, now having lost both of them, I told you this before, there's something about losing your mom. And I don't know if it's because we were so close in contact, Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's definitely legitimate what you're talking about. And like I had said with the maternal grandmother, backtracking to our relationship with her, and we've said it in past shows, remember with the Marine Corps, when I was going through you and I were going through hard times with fighting, and I'm an 18-year-old kid that feels like I'm on top of the world type thing, and I know everything, and I ran away and that type of stuff, and like that was the first person that I called, and I was like, Grandma, Mom's crazy. I need to.
And I know you know this. I know you agree with me.
And she's like, You're right. You're right. She's crazy. I don't know what's going on with her. Come down here. No, but yeah, she said, she bought me a plane ticket and everything. I went down there for, about a week.
And then she told you how awesome I was.
Yeah, it was. I was down there for a week, and it was like almost like a trick setup type thing. And she's like, lecturing me, but it was a different lecture than I was used to, because I would wake up and she'd make me breakfast. So I had breakfast and I'm sitting there eating breakfast, and she'd just sit down with her coffee and just stare at me till
First of all, she didn't drink coffee, but she did have orange juice.
Yeah, orange juice, probably in vodka. But she would just sit down and she's like, so let's talk. And then I was obligated to talk to her about everything because, she flew me down there. And, she was one of the persons that I would like break down and cry to, just bro, you hold in all those emotions, you're fighting every day and you're trying to be the tough one. You're trying to be strong. And then I would break down to her. And she really like gave me like a clear mindset of like, okay, Kyle, where are you at? What are you trying to do? And I would tell her about the Marine Corps, and she's like, I really think the Marine Corps is a good idea. She would tell me, she's like, I think the Marine Corps is a good idea. You need to fix things with your mom. You need to go back there, and it has to be right before. You can't go there and it be on bad terms, And so that's when she had me talk to you, and it was like a weird, feeling, but it was like it was good when I came back. Everything was good. So. She played an amazing role. And I always think back to that. And I always think back to, our trip, her last Mother's Day. And I think, so it's awesome how these, like, a few amount of times that we've actually gotten to see and hang out, like, almost like one-on-one with her was such a huge impact on who I was, because that trip down there kind of redirected me in such a great path. Say I didn't have that. I went and lived with Matt at a college. I was in a frat house, living in a frat house for like, a couple days. And I didn't, what would that have came into if I didn't have Grandma, so.
Yeah. And I remember the last thing she ever said to you, you were getting in your truck ready to leave when we were down there in May, and we were standing in her driveway. I think you probably left right after Zach. You stayed another night. Zach had left, and she said, and I was standing right behind her, and she said, Kyle, in case anybody asks you about my life, I drank a lot. I've smoked a lot, but I had a lot of fun too.
Yeah. And you
And
can't,
then,
you can't help to
I was
respect
thinking
that.
at the time, I know I was like, why are you saying this? Like, it was eerie in a way that, like, how did she know?
Yeah.
How did she know she was never going to see you again? You know?
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely think that, yes, some people will, you look at people's lives and history and all these books that we've read, especially with the pirate hunters, like one of those guys, not in the pirate hunters, but the shadow divers, one of their teammates had died from alcoholism. And the doctor told him, like, look, if you have a drink, you're going to die, you'll die. And he's like, you know what? I lived an awesome life, and this is just something that I do. If it's going to kill me, you hear about people all the time. Well, I'm doing the thing I love. Not that drinking was the thing that she loved, but she enjoyed what she I mean, essentially she loved it, but I'm sure she didn't say I love drinking, but she, that was her, thing to do. That's what had happened, what conspired to. So it was like,
in the hospital, we had some time to talk before she started getting, really out there on the morphine and everything. And I'd say to her, was it what would you, do you regret this?
Yeah.
And she'd say, if I could smoke a cigarette and have a drink right now, that's what I would do.
It.
And she's like, I don't regret my life. And I don't think she did. I think she got a little scared at the very, very end. She had some ministers come in. I think she poured her heart out to, on anything that she thought she had guilt about. But I don't know anybody who lived their life as guilt-free as she did in society's respect, because you could easily look at it. And I mean, I used to think, God, you're so weak. Like, stop drinking. And she'd be like, no. She didn't really see a life without it. She didn't see a life without smoking. She didn't see a life without drinking. Was it a cop out? I don't know.
Well, everyone has their I don't know. You could say demon. You could say a lot of things. And, you would say if she was a little like she was panic attacks or depression or whatever she's dealing with.
Right.
So say it's the depression, that kicks in, and people take that different ways. And sometimes you can take it the prescription pill way. Sometimes you can take it alcoholism way. Sometimes you can take it as like people leaving their families, people, doing those kind of type things. People handle it differently. And she at least, she was always there for us to the end,
And do you know anybody like that loved harder than she did?
No,
like,
you almost felt it was like too much.
Well, that's the thing. It was so overbearing. But when I think that the people in her life, and us included, when at times the phone would ring and we'd be like, oh my God, but we'd all look at each other like, didn't somebody just talk to her? Like, kind of like raise your hand if you just talked to grandma.
Can you imagine if we had FaceTime when she was alive?
Oh my God, I can't imagine.
Or something Skype. Like Skype, but she'd have to carry her around in the laptop.
Well, Kara said she could hardly log on to AOL. Remember back in AOL, because grandma would be on.
Yeah.
You
log on. Hey, Kyle, what are you doing?
You're like, oh no.
I'm frozen. She knows I'm on.
And it was that way. But then what happened when she died? It was a void that was so deep. I remember, she died on a Saturday morning. And wasn't like it wasn't expected. I mean, it was expected. Yeah. We were just waiting for it. And the weekend was fine because the kids were, Annie, Ian, and Ethan were around. So I was kind of busy all weekend. But Monday, it was when they were in school because I was taking care of her. They had to be in school that year. Mm-hmm. And they all left. And I sat there and I was like, what am I going to do now? What do I do? Somebody tell me what to do, because I can't pick up the phone. I can't even, at least before I was going into the hospital to see her, maybe I wasn't talking to her on the phone, but I was still, doing my thing with her, and then it was like, the phone's not going to ring. I'm not going to get a text and the phone isn't going to ring.
Yeah. But I think,
it's huge.
I think that was huge when you had said to me is, life is, that's ever evolving in life, every generation, every person deals with that. It's just the courage, I guess, is to step into that next role. Like, you and I talk every day. You and Kara talk every day. When I'm going to call you, every day on my way after the gym, on the way to work. We could, today is Thursday, 11 o'clock. I'm going to leave here at 12:30 and I'm going to go work out from 1 to 2. and at 2:15 I call you, and we talk
Right.
for 45 minutes to
Right.
an hour every day. So it's like you step into that role, and we do that because we don't get to see each other. And Nikita's the same way with her mom. They talk pretty much every day. Her mom calls her on the way home from work, and like that just goes along with what we said with the maternal. You just feel like closer, say I called Dad, either one of them, if I called Brian, or even if I called, Scott, and I was just like, it'd be
You're like, hey.
what's up? He'd be like, oh, what's up? What do you need? Just nothing. What's up? What are you doing?
I know
I'm just
yesterday
sitting
I
here.
talked to Zach twice for each like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And then so you think about that, like nobody else, and that's the part I miss. Well, I miss the unconditional love, because her and I fought. I'm not talking like it wasn't like we got along.
It was a brutal fights that I remember, and no one could fight harder than you two through, 2,000 miles separating.
Okay, remember when we'd be fighting and she would try to call you and I'd be looking at you. I'd be like, if you pick that
Don't
phone
answer.
up, don't even. And you'd be like, but she's calling me now. Like she wants to talk to me. And I was like, okay, Kyle, this is between me and you. And I used to be like, look at me. Do not pick that phone up.
The phone.
Not pick the phone up.
But
And,
even that, I think that was one thing that I prided myself on when I was in the Marine Corps, is that she would call me. And I was like, you know what? I don't know. I don't know what had told me that or whatever. I was like, she's not always going to be there. Right. So no matter who it is in the family, when Granddad Cronauer calls me, anyone calls me, I'm like, yeah, I always have this weird feeling like I'm going to answer. Yes, it might not be the most exciting thing on a Saturday afternoon to talk to Granddad, if he wants to know if I got the package or something like that. But then the conversation ends up good. And that was the same thing with Grandma. Every time she called, I pick up. Every time. And if I didn't pick up, that I had like a 3-minute voicemail, right? So
oh my gosh.
explaining everything she wanted to talk about.
No.
Like,
What I
think
love
she would get cut off on the voicemails.
She did. Remember when she got cut off on your texts or something? Like she used to text you so long that it'd be like 5 texts long. Mm-hmm. And I remember she would when she discovered texting, that is, she would text me and then she'd call me to tell me she texted me. And I'm like, okay, I got that. Or she would inbox and then, okay.
It was funny when she would text you.
Farmville. Can you say Farmville?
Oh yeah. Farmville, when she was obsessed with Farmville. And when she would text you, it was like she was writing a letter. Kyle. Yes. Comma, space. Like you don't have to text me a letter. And then she'd be like, you have to harvest your farm. You didn't do that yet today. Like, oh, okay, Grandma, I'll do it when I get home from work.
I remember.
Or if you want me to do it for you, just give me your login. I'll farm it for you. I'm like, it's gonna be okay. It's a computer game.
I remember Scott and I were going somewhere out. Right. And she called me and I was like, hey, and she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, we're going out to dinner or something. And she's like, oh yeah, well, you got strawberries that need to be harvested. And I was like, okay. And then I gave her my password. I was like, just go in, just do it yourself. Like, and she's like, really? You're not going to go home? I'm like, no, not going home.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah. It was awesome. I think that, and then how crazy she used to be every year with sending us the muffins. When she used to send us muffins every year.
But nobody had it worse with the muffins than Ian. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Because he was home, and everybody else would be like, did you get the muffins? Yeah. Are you home? No, I didn't get to. So she'd be like, Ian, go eat a muffin.
Which one did you like?
And then he's like, Grandma, I have to text her back. I have to call her back. I got to go eat a muffin. I was like, oh my God. And then they'd come. How often? Like every month or so. We couldn't get rid of those muffins.
You didn't get presents. It's like, oh, I'm going to send muffins. So, okay.
Muffins. Every variety of muffins.
Yeah, it was crazy. I'd be like, she said, Kyle, did you try the muffins? Yeah, I had a couple. Well, which ones did you have? Because I added different ones in there. So I wanted to see.
And then you're like, oh shit.
Didn't have any muffins.
Haven't eaten any muffins yet.
I don't know enough about the muffins. I don't know.
You're like, I don't know. It was early. I just toasted some. I can't.
Yeah. I just threw a couple in. I think it was plain. No, I didn't have any plain ones in there. But Multigrain. Multigrain. Let's go with multigrain. So yeah, she's eccentric a lot, but it was it's
it was like she was living with us and she wasn't living with us. There were
Very
times.
much so. And we were blessed by not having the FaceTime and the Skype.
Or she would have made us carry our phones around and talk to everybody.
FaceTime.
Well, do you remember at Christmas time, we weren't allowed to open our presents until Grandma was on? We had we had the phone. We had to set the phone down so she could hear everybody open their presents.
Yeah. Yep. But she would, the funny thing about her, everyone listening is like, why didn't she just move up there with you guys? But she hated the cold.
Oh my God.
She'd come in the summertime. That would be the only time she'd come, right? First of all, because it had to be summertime, at least a little bit of warm. So it might be in the 90s. She's walking around full turtleneck sweater in a hoodie. And shivering, sitting there,
yawn.
Scott, you gotta raise the heat. It's too cold here. It's too cold.
No, she came one Christmas when we lived in Michael's Crossing, and I remember she turned the heat up to like 80, and she still had a turtleneck on. We were all like in shorts. We're like, and then she's like, "I'm never coming here again in the winter." And we're like, "Okay, good deal." Yeah, nothing would have made her leave Florida. She missed us, but not as much as she missed Florida. No way.
I couldn't imagine.
No way. So, okay, are you going to play the voicemail?
Yeah, I have to do that offline. So what I'm going to do, friends and family, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little cool montage in here. I'm going to play, like I told you before, I told you that I get a new iPhone every year, right? So every year I get an iPhone. When I give them my other phone, I'm like, look, this phone I'm going to give you, I need you to transfer it over to the new phone. They're like, yeah. I'm like, no, listen, I have voicemails on here that if they get deleted, you're going to have to call the police. You're going to have to call someone because it's not going to be okay. So these voicemails on here have to get transferred to the other phone. And they're like looking at me and they'll see it. It'll say grandma. And they kind of like understand. Some people understand. They're like, oh, okay. So every year I get the new iPhone. I make sure that the voicemails are still there, and I haven't listened to them in years. So what I will do, I'm gonna and also at the end of this, stay tuned to the end of this. I'm going to I get on with every one of the kids. So all 6 of us are gonna talk, and I'm gonna add a little cool montage, splice it up with some cool music. Another song that you really like that reminds you of her that you said that she used to sing to you. So we'll save that for them, and we'll have every kid on there talking about their favorite memory of her and just bring her to life more so you can hear from it. That'll be the first time you hear from all the other kids too. So this weekend, it's Thursday now. I'm going to work on it all this weekend, and we'll get that out to you. So I think we do. I think we brought her to life on this. I really do.
I think
that people will laugh, remembering this and some good tears. And it was we were blessed by her, in her life, and definitely you tell your kids about, or my kids, you don't tell your kids, but I tell my kids about, and it's cool. And I have a picture of her in my office, and it's awesome. So she had a great impact, and you talk about with people achieving life and leaving a legacy. She really did. She left a legacy of love, really. There's no other better way to explain it. So it was awesome. And so 4 years today, maybe every year we'll do one of these, and we'll talk about different stories and share pictures. So guys, if you're listening to this, definitely check out the website, because we're going to share all the pictures. Just go to thecrowjournal.com, CROjournal.com, click on podcast, and Son of a Mother
and
Show.
I forgot the shout out. Remember I told you I'd gotten a shout out yesterday from one of my girlfriends from high school, just so I can fit it in, because I know she's going to watch this. She was a cheerleader with me when I was growing up. She knew my mom very well, because she was with me. And she said to tell everybody that the thing that she remembered the most was that nobody in high school looked better in a pair of jeans than my mom. And I was like, you're right. Up until the day she died, my mom had quite a body. So
she was in great shape. Not shape, but I mean she was always
for the 70s. She was nobody was in great shape.
You weren't
in the
working
70s,
out. Yeah, you weren't running miles.
Weren't running miles, but she was young. She was a young mom, because we're only 17 years apart. So true. I think that had a lot to do with it.
She was in her 20s when you were in high school. No.
Yeah, think about it. Her 30th birthday, I was 13.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy. How old would Ella be? Ella would be, I don't know. Anyway.
Well, she's 3 now.
She's 3 now.
And you're 28.
Fuck.
That's only 2 years. She'll be 5. It's not hard math.
It's too early. Anyway, all right,
Okay.
friends and family,
Anyway.
stick around for the little montage. I'm gonna put hours in on this over the
Awesome.
weekend. So
Can't wait to see it.
it might only be like 1 or 2 minutes, spliced up, maybe 3 minutes, but know that it took me hours. So
Right.
it'll be like the first kind of project that I do with this. So. Yes, episode 6 in the books. Episode 7, make sure next week we are reviewing The Girl on the Train, which you've already started. I'm starting tomorrow, which I'm really excited about. You said it's a great book already,
It's
right?
a great book. I love it.
Any movies you seeing this weekend?
I don't know what I'm going to go see this weekend. I would go see the Peanuts movie if you took Ella to see it, but I know that might not happen for you.
No, we have pretty busy, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I don't know. I have to
Nikita
look
has
at
a lot of clients.
There's not like any, I'll see what I can find. And,
Yeah.
no,
Okay.
no blockbusters out this weekend. So anyway.
All right.
All right.
All right, friends and family. Thank you for joining. Enjoy the montage. Bye.
Bye.
What's your name?
Zach.
My name is Kara.
Annie.
My name's Ian.
Ethan.
And what's your favorite memory?
Okay, my favorite memory about Grandma.
So my favorite memory of Grandma,
Well, it was right after I quit gymnastics.
My favorite memory of Grandma was,
Well, I was really young.
will always be when I was deployed. It was always a very difficult time in my life, but every time we got mail, I knew I was getting mail from Grandma, and we had access to the internet. So Grandma was always Facebook messaging me and contacting me, always letting me know the boxes were on the way, what I wanted in the boxes.
when I started becoming homeschooled in 7th grade, AIM or AIM was very popular at the time. And unlike most grandmas, she had a screen name. And every time I did online homeschooling, so I was on the computer all day. So when I would sit down on the computer in the morning, I'd sign on, and she would literally message me within like 5 seconds. Hello, good morning, how are you? And I would sit there throughout my whole school day and message her back and forth all day long. And she knew when all of my classes were, she knew when my homework was due, she knew when all of my tests were scheduled for, and it was pretty amazing. And I think that at that time in my life, we were the closest then, just because, we would talk all day, every day, even if it was on the computer. And then when I graduated and wasn't on the computer anymore, it kind of went more towards calling me and texting me. And I knew that, like, no matter what time of day or night or anything, I could call her and she would pick up, like, within seconds. And I was so lucky to, even though, she wasn't there physically because we lived really far apart, she was there, like, emotionally, mentally there 100% all the time. And I can easily say that she was one of my best friends. And I don't think a lot of people can say that about their grandparents. And I was so lucky to be able to have the opportunity not only to be homeschooled and talk to her all day, but just to have her as a friend and someone to talk to.
And we went to go visit Grandma in Florida, and we were staying at her house. And I think everyone was in bed, and me and Grandma were out on her porch. And it was such like a clear clear night outside, and all the stars were out. And we went on our phones, and she showed me an app that you could kind of look at like the moon and the constellations, and it showed you all the different stars and everything. And we stayed out on the porch all night, and we kind of talked, and we had like a really great time.
The time that we were down in Florida, I think it was like 3 or 4 years before she died. And so I was probably like 10 years old. And it was like 10 o'clock in the morning, and we were over at her house, and there was a red Solo cup, and it looked like water. So I went to take a sip of it, and I spit it out immediately, and I went to the bathroom, and I almost threw up.
What was it?
And it was vodka.
That's amazing.
Dad wasn't happy about it.
So I didn't really know much about her, but the only thing I really knew was when she came to our house when she was sick the last couple of months before she died, and that was the closest I've ever been to her.
Just making sure that I had a little slice of home, so far away from home.
So that's like one of my favorite memories with her.
and I miss her so much.
Hey, Kyle, it's Grandma. Hey, Kyle. Hey, Kyle, it's Grandma. Call me. Let's see, I have a dinner party at 6 o'clock tonight. If you can call me this afternoon or late tonight. I just have, 4 questions. A, I think you're coming down here, but I wanted to know your ETA, I guess it is, estimated time of arrival or day or whatever. B, do you have a GPS for in your car? And let's see, 3, do you know where you're staying? It doesn't matter, just curious. And when do you have to leave? And that's it. I promise no long conversation if you don't want one. But I know you're working days, and Mom said you're super stressed about work. Just wondered how things were going for you. I just wanted to let you know your package was delivered. I don't know when you can pick it up, but it's there. Talk to you later. Bye. Talk to you later. Bye. Talk to you soon. Bye.